Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we are going to be continuing on with our tutorial series on HTML, and this is the second to last video, guys. We're almost done. In this particular video, we are going to be covering three more input types, and those are the URL input type, the telephone input type, and the week input type. In short, the week input type allows you to select a week of the month. It allows you to also, we've also got the telephone input type that allows you to specify a telephone number. And then we've also got the URL input type, which allows you to input a URL. Now, one thing to note is that much like the email type and the search type of input, the URL and telephone type don't do anything super special. Their semantics are exactly the same as the normal input type text. However, again, the keyboard on a mobile device, such as an iPad, an iPhone, or an Android phone, or a tablet, will change dynamically based on what type it is. So for telephone, it'll have a numeric keypad type keyboard. And then for URLs, it has a URL-friendly keyboard, so you can more easily input URLs with less button presses. So, how do we even utilize these then? Well, let's start with the week input by going less than label for select WK, select a week. Okay. Then we can go and do an input type equals week, ID equals select dash WK, name equals week. And then we're going to close off the input. Now we can save our code and go to our browser and refresh. And so now you can see we have select a week as our label. And then now we've got our little picker here, and we can select our week of the year. So we can go from 1 to 53, and we can say year. So the 53rd week of say 2023. And then you can also go ahead and have a dialogue. It has a nice built-in dialogue, much like the date and time and date time local does. Well, not so much date time, but you get the idea. So Chrome and Chromium-based browsers particularly have these. I'm not entirely certain on Safari, but I know the Chromium-based browsers do have these little dialogues, which are very useful. So that is the week. That is the week input. Next, we're going to take a look at the URL and the we're going to take a look at the URL and the telephone inputs. So to get a telephone input, we're going to say input type equals TEL, like that. And then we need the ID of cell-num. Name is going to be equal to cell, like that. And then we're going to give it a label. For equals cell-num. Like that. Save your code and run it now. So you can see here the telephone input field is no different looking than the normal text type input. And if you focus on it with a screen reader, it announces it no differently than an input type text. The only difference being the keyboard type that your mobile device uses for input. So, for example, you could in the telephone field, you could have like text in there that isn't numbers or dashes. So you're going to have to validate that yourself, filter out any of that stuff and whatnot. So that is the telephone input type with type equals TEL for telephone. Next, we're going to put in our URL field. So label for equals let's say GitHub repo. So this is going to be a field where you can input the URL for your GitHub repository. Right, and so in between here we're going to say enter the URL for your GitHub repository. And then we can have an input type equals, and then for the URL type we need to put URL in there, just like that. Have an ID of GitHub-repo and a name of repo-URL, like that. Save your code now and run it in the browser. And so now you can see we have a text field that, again, looks nothing like, looks nothing unique. It looks exactly like the normal text type. And again, when you focus on it with a screen reader, it will announce it the exact same way it would a normal text field. The only difference is that the keyboard now has on a mobile device will have a more URL input friendly field, keyboard type rather. So that pretty much does it for this video, guys, on the telephone URL and weak inputs. Thank you all so very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video, which will be the last video in the series.